I know what your problem is. You don't have enough time to produce all the content you need for your marketing. But guess what? Content's king, so you have to do it. We're going to show you a system today that you can use to make sure you're everywhere all the time. Hi, welcome back to Blunt Force Business. I'm Brian Fauci.
And I'm Patrick Marino.
And our Blunt Force fact for today, we are jumping right in. Not even talking.
Not even gonna talk about what the topic is.
We're going to. Blunt Force fact is content is king and you're a queen. My daughter calls me queen all the time. And I'm like, is that Gen whatever?
I think it's Gen Alpha.
It's cool,
It's
I
a
think.
Gen
I think
Alpha.
it's
they call each other queen.
It's a compliment.
Yeah.
She's not like punking me.
Yeah.
Right. The first time she did it, I choked her. And then she's like, no, but wait, I can't breathe. It's a compliment. I'm like, all right, I'll stop choking you. Mm-hmm. I didn't do that. I wouldn't do that. That'd be mean. We're obviously talking about marketing content today.
Yeah.
And it being Blunt Force fact for today just changed. Content is queen. We want to relate to our audience, don't we?
Yeah, of course. We have a ton of Gen Alphas on TikTok and
content is queen.
TikTok and Twitch.
She'll
and Discord on our Discord channel.
She'll end it with a baka. She'll be like, content is queen, baka. So I play along. Cool. All right, take us through.
We need content.
We do need content.
Right? We
got content.
We have content.
I think this
podcast is our version of having content.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I've done the math on this before.
And we actually our content plan is actually part of what we're talking about as well. This podcast fits into the bucket.
Well, you're going to go through that with them. What are the 3 B's you're going to go through with them?
Bucket, batch, branch.
Bucket, batch, and branch. I'm glad you're leading to this because I'd be tripping over bucket, batch, branch a lot. But this is a really good example. So what is our listeners' takeaway from this call is pretty straightforward. This shit that we do right here serves a multitude of purposes. And I've done the math on it. You and I spend 4 hours a month. Now, granted, there's some editing time in there. I don't want to discount that, but we spend 4 hours a month. And out of that 4 hours a month, we get probably, so obviously these go out there as their full form videos. They go out on multiple channels. So it's a full form on YouTube. It's a full form on Spotify and all those, any other network like that. But then the ability to very easily take them and turn them into probably another hour or so worth of short reels that then fill probably 10, 15, 20 slots throughout all the channels. It's just endless. It really is endless.
Right.
You do a great job of turning some of them into shorts, right? And so we end up in this once a month 4 hours, which if you break that down percentage wise, if you only worked 40 hours a week, which our business owners are not,
right.
But if you only worked 40 hours a week, average for work week per month, it's 160 hours. So you're taking 2.5% of your time, and you could probably have everything you need. I think that's what I love. I love doing this with you. It's great. I learn as we do it as well. Like I think we help our listeners, but we learn as we do it. But more so than that, we found a way to systematize this, and you're going to talk about that.
Well, how about going through? So like you have consulted with a bunch of businesses.
Thousands
of businesses. Thousands of businesses. And how often do you run into the dead content attempt? You open up there used to be a lot of people with Twitter. You open up Twitter and they had like a month of tweets, or they had a YouTube channel with 4 videos from 3 years ago. Or they had
the haunted house,
the blog,
of social space.
They were posting once a week for a year. And
the
then
empty
nothing.
mansion of social space.
Yeah. So we live in an era, especially with AI, where there is more and more and more content, and the less you're part of that conversation, the more invisible you are. Content is king. It's more king now than ever. But the challenge is that the reason why did your businesses not work? Number not finish or not go through with it, it's usually a combination of things, usually ROI and time, right? It's like, we're not really seeing the value and I don't really have time for this.
Yeah.
And I don't love doing it.
One of the clients that we recently worked with, and he recently came on our call.
Mm-hmm.
I won't out him, but he did a really, really nice YouTube video. And as we were coaching through him, I said, before you even start this, you know me in calendars, right? Block scheduling. Like, this cannot be more.
A one-time thing?
I gave him 10%. I was willing to give 10%. This cannot be 10%. 10% is not a lot.
Right.
That means 4 hours a week and a 40-hour work week. That's it. If you are spending more time than that on it, you have, we are very efficient at it at this point.
Right.
2.5% of our time really a month.
Mm-hmm.
And we get a ton out of that. And, and obviously Shannon's a big reason why we get the breath out of it. But the reality is, for us, our time block, 2.5%.
Yeah.
Anything more, and we had to take a break for a little while because even that 2.5%, I was like, I need a couple months. I got to pull that 2.5% back for a couple months. And then we kind of jump back in. But that's so key. So finding ways to make it replicable. And
I think the whole point of this is that we all probably understand that without creating content, we're losing visibility with, and it's not just new, it's our current. I think one of the things we reference a lot is just this ability to invest in your current people. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of the content you put out is more for your current people than it is for growing. It's great for growth. Like, really, what are you trying to do? You're trying to keep your current people engaged with you and keep them coming back to you. Yeah. Because it's way cheaper and as an investment to keep them coming back and buying more, spending more money, or just remaining in your program. Then they become brand champions, right? They become brand ambassadors. Mm-hmm. They refer out and stuff like that. But by staying visible, you are way better off to your current people and you're keeping them engaged. And I think that's got to be, more of that. Because I think that what generally drives people to quit making content is like that we're not bringing people in part. And if you think of it more in that we're trying to engage our current people, I think that will help. Yeah. But a lot of it's just time management. Yeah. Right. And that's preaching to the Brian LaFauci school of thought. Put in the calendar. I love what I love more than anything with the stuff that we put out there is I love when I'm working with someone and we're in the middle of some kind of discussion about an area where we're helping them. And I really do love when I can say, hey, when we're done with today's call, I'm going to send you, we did a podcast on this. I'm going to send it to you. It seems like it doesn't seem like it's such a value add because you paid me for this hour, right? That's what you paid me for. Beyond the hour, I'm now providing you with what very much is, okay, here's our recap. Here's next steps. Here's another free 30 minutes. That's how I look at it. Right. Like on this topic that we just discussed, here's a free 30 minutes where you're going to get something that, and it's seeing you in a little bit of a different light than they see you during the consult. Yeah, but you're shooting the shit a little bit more. Like they're kind of getting to know you a little bit more, and adds the value of you. Hear about more of your experience as well. But so never mind that. It adds the value of you to this. Yeah. Like your knowledge and your experience come into it. So now the perspective gets it gets I want to say glorified, but that's not the right word. But there's much more context they can put around what they're trying to figure out. Because now it's two people who have a lot of experience in this giving feedback, and they can tease out of it what they think is important. Right. Yeah. Should I introduce the content producing method that we're going to be sponsoring? Yes. and this is also me doing a Brian LaFauci and systematizing something that I do for my clients. Right. And go next level. You put a worksheet together on this before you put them. Yeah. Well, I don't know about the worksheet yet. We'll see. But we are going to take the 3B approach to content marketing. We are going to bucket, batch, and branch. Right. And what does it mean to bucket? So bucket, I think, is one of the. I mean, these are all critical, But bucket's the first step because it's also part of the planning part. Because I think one of the reasons why content plans fall to pieces is because there's no goal. Like we do a lot of goal setting and a lot of reflection in our business building and our consulting. There's no goal to it. So therefore you're just creating content just to create it. There's no workflow. There's no plan. Generally speaking, your content is going to fit into one of 3 buckets, and that will help you plan what content you should use. It will help you to create a mix of content. So it's like we've been really focused on this and not on this and not on this. It'll help you do that. And it will also help you evaluate how your content's doing, because you'll have an actual goal to producing it. And then you'll be able to look afterwards and say, okay, well, how many new customers did we bring in? How many customers did we keep? Did we convert? So the 3 buckets are attract, engage, and convert, right? Attract is new people, right? So we're creating content for paid advertising, or are we using short form video that's going to push out of our network to other people to discover us, right? So that's content to attract new people.
Okay.
You want me to move on?
Yeah. No, keep going. Yeah, go through all 3.
Engage would be our current. And that's really more of the podcast, as much as even for the podcast, right? So a podcast is usually a good tool for your current people, because it's really hard to spread a content. Like people look for all the most popular people. If you look at the most popular podcaster in the world, like Joe Rogan, or if you look at the early people, the early adopters, like a Mark Maron, or like I'm a big Bill Simmons listener too. All these people had huge audiences before they started the podcast.
Absolutely did.
Right? They had massive audiences. Joe Rogan has all these subscribers, but he was a stand-up comic. He was on a number 1 rated TV show. He wasn't sitting and he was on the UFC. Yeah. So he didn't just say, I'm going to start a podcast and bring new people in. Right. Bill Simmons was the Boston sports guy. He was ESPN news personality, right? So before he started this podcast, he had this following, and therefore he's just engaging. Podcast is more of an engagement. Then do your people tell people about it? Absolutely. But content for your people, behind the scenes stuff. Behind the scenes stuff doesn't mean anything. Someone who doesn't know who you are. But if you're current people, what's Brian like outside of his business consulting? What's Brian outside of the classroom? What's he like? Oh, he's got his dog. He was in the military. You know what I mean? All these things. He's a big family guy. All these things. Yeah, that's great. Engage. People want to be more involved than you if they know about it. Right. So that content would hit that bucket. And the third type of content is the conversion content. So that's kind of okay, now people are aware of us. They're thinking about buying. What kind of content can we put out that will turn them into customers? A lot of that might be user generated. So it's here's a testimonial, whether it's a review on Google or whether it's somebody talking about your business and how you help them improve. This product transformed me. I mean, I looked like this and now I look like this, so it's transformative content, right? But this is content that's going to turn people that might be not customers yet into customers. If you before you decide, I'm going to start creating content, whether it's written content, whether it's a podcast, or whether it's video, have a goal, put it into one of those 3 buckets. And then as you plan out your content for the year or for a period, a quarter or a month or whatever your smaller level of planning is, you want to kind of mix those in, right? I want to have stuff for my current people. I want to have stuff to get new people. And I want to turn people who haven't quite bought yet into customers. And if you use that plan, you'll have a better feeling about the types of content that you should create. And that will engage your mind to okay, well, I'm trying to attract a new person. What do I do? If I'm trying to turn someone into a customer, what do I do? And then that will help you after the fact. Quarter 1, quarter 2. How did our content perform? Do we have new people because of the content we were trying whether it was a paid ad? Do we have more people turning into customers who were in that pipeline who we weren't sure about? And then how is our customer loyalty? Do we have people spending more money with us coming back to us?
And I think the principles of normal marketing apply to that too, in that it's always going to be the most difficult to take those people who aren't customers, and we can think about any channel. We can think about social media channels. Take those people that aren't our followers and get them to be followers, right? New customer. Now you're following us. Now every time I put something out, you get our stories, right? You're front and center. That's the most difficult. But then there's the other engagement piece, which is, we talk about this in a lot of our other videos, which is about the low-hanging fruit for all of us is monetizing existing and getting them to buy other things.
Yeah.
So there's that factor too, where now
it's like upsell content. It's like you're part of this program.
Yes.
How do we get you into this?
Yep. So now you have the ability to kind of take these people and kind of push them into.
I've got a wellness studio I work with. Like a lot of people come in because of astrology or Reiki or whatever, but they do like they have acupuncture, they have infrared sauna, they have all these other things. And just by you've come in to do yoga. Now follow us on social. And then just through that, now they discover, oh, you do all these other things? Right? So we're engaging our current customers as well. Should I move on to the next B?
No.
Okay.
Not yet. Gotta finish my cough.
Okay.
I just wanted to make one more point on
Cool.
that,
Yeah, of course.
which is that you got to be very conscious about this. So I think it's one thing and you talk about systematizing. It's one thing to say, all right, great, I get it. I think a next level market planning would be to take your marketing calendar, which you're all using, right? And on there, identify it. So as we're building out our marketing calendar, we just put a little letter next to it, right? Is this targeting to this group, or this group? And maybe some things target both, but look and see where your balance is. Because we want to be balanced across that. And we want to make sure that at all stages of engagement, our people feel like we are talking right to them.
And for some people, it's going to be seasonal, right? So it might be a seasonal time when you have to acquire new customers. Like if you're in certain programs where there's RFPs, the RFPs are certain times of the year, like you're attracting new customer content and your conversion content needs to be on point that time.
Right.
Whereas maybe your engagement content is the rest of the year.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people will then not market the rest of the year.
Right.
They'll only market during the times when they need new customers, which is a mistake.
Yeah.
But you have to, as you would say, systematize it. But part of systematizing is going to be these other B words too. Because the next step is the batch.
The batch, right?
And that's what we're doing right now.
We've effectively bucketed, right? And we've used some of those steps. Now we batch, talk
right. And the batch is basically the idea of your typical small business owner either being a small team or even a one-man show, solopreneur. Right? Or one woman show. And the idea is that you just don't have time. You have to run the business. You have to grow the business, right? So when you create content, well, put it on the calendar. Have a day of the week. In our case, a day of the month when you're just going to put all your content together or record all your content, produce all your content and dedicate that time because that takes less pressure off of you because like the one thing about content is it has to be delivered throughout the year. So that puts you a lot of under pressure. If I didn't do it, it's like, oh, I got nothing for next week.
Right.
Well, instead, how about just one day of the week, one day of the month, one day of the week is content day.
Right.
I create content in that day. Now I have it. I have stuff we always make sure we have stuff in the back pocket. There's some content that hasn't been put out yet that just in case we miss something, we have it ready to go. So I think that's a big part of just how do you fit this into your daily schedule?
Yep.
Or in this case, not daily, maybe it's monthly. Batch it, create a whole bunch, and then you can use it sometimes throughout the year.
Right.
Like we had Shanun came in to my jewelry store and did a photo shoot. Right. We've used that content all year. We made sure we had enough of it. Yeah. Or like we did we had Deb come in and did a commercial. Right. I made sure I had the B-roll. I had made sure I had all the stills. We've used it multiple times. Right. Right. But we did it all in one go, created content. Right. So batching I think is important for most small business owners.
I think I have to remind Shanun of that sometimes. Like she'll be like, because Shanun is very much, I want to hit my marks, right? Which is a positive thing, right? She'll get mad at me if there's something that I need to do. It's gonna delay her as she should. But sometimes I'll say to her like, you know how much fucking content we have? Just go grab something from last year. But she doesn't like to do that. She's like, no, new stuff all the time.
I mean, the other part of batching is the scheduling too, right? So you can put it all out. Like we're going to schedule, you can use a tool to schedule emails, tool to schedule social media posts, tool to schedule when a blog is published. All that stuff can just be all scheduled. So part of your batching process is creating and then getting it out there. You want me to move on?
No, I like it. Well, that was great. I really do like that. So.
Well, the next part is the branch part. And the branch part is where we really make the most out of our content that we create.
Okay.
So we might take one subject and write a big, long article about it, right? Or maybe even a book. Write a book about something, or write a long article about something.
Do that?
Write one
Craziness.
subject. Yeah. Write one subject, okay? Now, from that one subject, you could maybe have a long blog post about it. And that is it could be for your current, it fits into one of those buckets.
Yep.
But you created it. Now, from the blog post, now you create a long form YouTube video about it. The same exact content in a different format. So we're talking about, in a previous video podcast, we talked about the fact that your audience is different areas.
Yep.
Some audiences prefer to read stuff. Some audiences prefer to watch stuff. Some audiences prefer to listen to stuff. Some people enjoy the short form, long form, all from one. So we're going to create a big, long article. We're going to create a long form YouTube video of it. Now we're going to cut that YouTube video.
I do want to say, I like that. To me, that's the starting point. To me, and then continue, but message to our listeners, you want to know where to start? Long form video. And why? Tell them why.
Well, it can be either way, but let me go through all of them first. But we take the long video, we separate into shorts for, because Reels and TikToks are a good way of reaching outside of your audience. You create little stories, right? Behind the scenes of it, right? Those stories to engage our current audience, maybe sell our products or services, right? But what we've done is we've taken one long thing and then send an email about it, right? It could be your weekly email could be about this. So we actually work the opposite. We don't start with the article. We usually start with this, right? And then from this, now we can,
and that's what I like.
Create a blog article about it, separate it into shorts, send an email about it, right? Yes. So you've created with one piece of content, or even like if we're talking about multiple subjects, it could be multiple emails, but from one piece of big content, create all sorts of little ones. And now maybe even you keep some in the back pocket. So it's like, hey, we're going to show 2 reels from this podcast next week, but then we have, this podcast is a half hour. There could be other little shorts that we could pull from it, right? So you could take one piece of long content and just use that for a ton of different areas.
Right.
Put it into all your buckets, batch it, schedule it all out, but just starting from one thing, whether it's a long article or whether it's a long video, and cut it all up.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think if you're going back to making sure we're spending the right amount of time on things and that we're not overextending ourselves with this and making it take up 30% of our work week, right? What I love about starting with the long form video is for probably the cost of less than $50 a month, there is AI and apps out there or software out there that will take that and do everything you just said for you. It will develop the email. It'll develop the blog post. It will cut up the video and chop it all up into, these social media clips with the little description and everything. That's why I love it, because you can do it as a solopreneur with almost zero more time, just a small little investment. We were using Munch for a while. And there's other ones out there that do a nice job of just getting the little snippets. Now, do I think they're perfect at getting the points? Not at all. They are not perfect.
But they're getting better.
They are getting better. And we preach this sometimes. If you need to just stay relevant, don't let perfection get in the way of consistency. Right. So sometimes what you put out there, not every movie Martin Scorsese did was an Oscar-winning movie. Yeah. Right. Not every. We keep moving forward. Right? Even those people on social media. Big fan of Joe Rogan. Love his podcast. A lot of Lex Friedman's another one I listen to all the time, and you can think of all these podcasts that I listen to a lot. Yes, there's ones I listen to. I'm like,
Well, I hate to say this because a lot of people are like, okay, how do I attract new people with a podcast? Like another fast rising one, which I predict is going to eventually be number one, is Mel Robbins. Have you heard of Mel Robbins?
I've heard of Mel Robbins.
Right. So Mel Robbins, if you're like 35 to 45 and you're a woman, she's like your freaking God. Yeah. But she's been around for a long time before she had her podcast. You know what I mean? So again, you're engaging a current audience. And then through that engagement, you're creating these brand ambassadors who are like, hey, I got something you got to check out. Right. And so that's how you're also reaching beyond. But what I like about the branch aspect is you can start with whatever makes you comfortable. right? So like in our case, I feel like a lot of the content comes from this podcast video because we might not have been thinking about what actually comes up. We have it outlined, but actually what comes up during the discussion might be a little different than what we might have written if we'd started off with the article.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like start with the video. And for a lot of people, it's like, if you're not really good at writing, just by sitting in front of a camera and talking something out will help you develop your idea.
Yeah.
And realize that you have some mastery in something, especially, you know, like, here's this thing I really know a lot about. I just created it. Now you can use AI, pull the transcript, turn it into a blog post, turn it into an email that's going to go out. You know, so you can start either way. Start with the blog post, start with the long form video.
Yep.
And then cut it all up. And you have like an ocean of content.
Yeah.
That you can then put into one of these buckets and you've batched it.
I like it. Yeah. I think this is a great system. You did this all by yourself?
We have been doing this with our clients. We're just systematizing.
We have been doing this, but I love how you did this 3B system. I really do. I think it's great. I'll be honest. It's very replicable. It kind of helps organize the mind around something that is overwhelming at times, right? So when people look at what we do, I get this all the time. People will be like, "You're everywhere." Yes, but we're everywhere through literally like this one thing that we do a really nice job of making look like a spider web, right? We're really not devoting 50% of our. I think people think sometimes like, do you just sit around and make videos? No, I probably and then when I give them the breakdown of what I really spend, time we really spend
this is an area too where if you want to find like a cheaper contractor, especially if you're not good at this stuff, right? And you do have a little bit of extra money, right? Take your, again, record yourself doing something, talking about something that you feel is important, and give it to somebody probably younger who is like social media savvy and like, here, turn this into something. And that will help you, you know what I mean? Like just using one piece of content, branching it out. Yeah. And that way, you've organized yourself so you know what bucket it's in, when you're going to be doing it on the schedule, putting it on the calendar. Right. And getting it all out.
Great stuff. Great job. Really nice job. Blunt force fact for today. Content is queen. Baka. I'm Brian LaPauci.
Patrick Marino.
Till next time.
Thank you.